Oh boy, howdy, we got an interesting video for you today. So yesterday was the Disney's earning call. We're going to be covering it later on today on my podcast, The Hcast, episode number 54, I believe. But we're going to have a live segment, essentially, from someone that was actually on the call. And we're going to be taking some questions and discussing it in depth. But before the podcast starts, let's take a look at what Bob Iger is saying. Awful lot of cope, it seems. Referencing movies that he didn't even make. Referencing movies that he inherited. Because Disney obviously bought another studio. But they didn't greenlight the movie. Of course, we're talking about Avatar. This is kind of an admission of defeat. Essentially. That's how I view it anyway. So let's take a look at this. It's fascinating stuff. So let's dive in. Hit subscribe if you're newer. If you didn't know about the podcast, I run it every Tuesday and Thursday. And there is a second channel, which you can find linked down below, called Mistake Reviews Live Archives, where those podcast clips and full podcast streams go. But like I said, let's dive into this today, ladies and gents. Hope you're well. So this is, let's shrink this down a little bit. This is our, lovely CEO of Disney, Bob Iger. All sarcasm, of course. It says he's personally focused on improving the quality of the company's films. I mean, all right, good. I mean, you should be anyway. You're a film company, so you should be doing that. Bizarre, very, very, very bizarre. Now, there was obviously wild speculation that Disney might be acquired by Apple. Interestingly enough, he did comment on that and basically said it's not something we obsess about. So, pretty nondescript, but it is something which has been circulated for a while, that Apple is poised to buy Disney, which would be such a huge takeover if they were going to do that. But yeah, so Disney CEO Bob Iger addressed the pressing investor concerns on today's quarterly earnings calls. That was yesterday. And the investors are not happy with Bob Iger. The last Investors Day call, he got ripped apart. They're not happy with him. And why would you be? You know, this is someone that should never have come back. He could have ended, he could have quit while he was ahead and ended in the history books, essentially, as one of the all-time best CEOs. I know that's, that sounds quite nonsensical, but it is. He could have done that because of his achievements with Disney. Now he comes back presiding over shite, some of it which he set up, and now he can't rectify it. It's a pretty big mar against your name, isn't it? So, the company's two main film earners, Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm, have been trending downward recently in terms of box office earnings and critical reception. I mean, Marvel specifically had two of their worst rated Marvel products this year alone, just in the same year. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, lowest, incredibly bad box office, and then it didn't even break $500 million. That's really bad for a Marvel film with a budget of like $250 million. Crazy stuff. And then you had Marvel's Secret Invasion, so two of their worst reviewed products in the same year. So yeah, it's, we're not speaking out of turn when we say that the critical reception is bad. So Iger assured investors during the earnings briefing that he'll be personally invested and is spending extra time on improving the quality. Look, I'm sorry, alright, I've got a dog. I can't do much about it. Soz. Anyway, Iger assured investors during the earnings briefing that he'll be personally invested and is spending extra time on improving the quality and box office returns on future releases. Again, do you want a round of applause for this? You should be doing this anyway. Anecdote. The UK police at the moment have been like, release a statement, we're going to investigate all crimes or all burglaries. It's like, sorry, you weren't? Were you not doing this anyway, Bob? Like, you want a pat on the back? A round of applause for the things that you should be doing anyway? No. This is not the win that he thinks it is. It makes you look like, a joke, basically. And even more so because of what he referenced. He goes, regarding our studio performance, let's put things into perspective a little bit. The studio has had tremendous run over the last decade. Perhaps the greatest run that any studio has ever had. You know what? He is right there. Marvel, as a property, is one of the biggest franchises of all time. I think it is the biggest franchise of all time. There is no... I do think he's speaking the truth there. With multiple billion-dollar hits, and including, by the way, 2 that were relatively recent. So what he's referencing here, one in particular, Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm sorry, I missed the part where you greenlit that. I mean, I remember that being greenlit under 20th Century Fox. So, yeah, I don't buy that. We also had a pretty strong performance with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which has then, I think, approximately under 850 million at the global box office. And you know what? It was looking like for a little while there that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was going to be a huge failure. $850 million is not the smash hit success that they wanted it to be, but it is still good. You know, it is good. They've done well with that film. But it was pretty rocky at a certain point in time. But that nonsense talking about Avatar: The Way of Water, I mean, you're absolutely talking out your ass, man. Because you didn't greenlight that film. You inherited it. You inherited all of the financing deals. It's just bizarre. You can't pat yourself on the back for that. Anyway, he says, that said, the performance of some of our recent films has definitely been disappointing. And we don't take that lightly. As you'd expect, we're very focused on improving the quality and the performance of the films that we've got coming up. It's something that I'm working closely with the studio on. I'm personally committed to spending more time and attention on that as well. Again, like, round of applause for the things that you should be doing. I never understand why people they wheel themselves out and they say the things that they should be doing as if they've made this great epiphany. Like, oh, I'm going to be doing that now. You're like, sorry, you weren't? What are you doing? I'm not going to give you a pat on the back. You should be committed to the improvement of films. You should be committed to the quality of your films. You should be personally invested. You're the CEO. You should be going down there and looking at stuff. The fact that you're not, and the fact that you're now... I mean, it speaks volumes, doesn't it? It explains exactly why they've been on the decline. If you weren't doing what you should be doing, yeah, that's going to have a massive impact. Obviously, dunce. So bizarre. It really annoys me. Again, same anecdote with the police. Police in the UK. Oh, we're going to investigate burglaries. You haven't been? I'm not going to say well done. No, I'm not going to say well done, Bob Iger. You should be doing this anyway. So there you have it. I don't want to get too much into this anyway, because again, we're going to cover this later on this evening on my podcast. 7 p.m. UK time it starts. So look, this is what it is. It's funny. They've also announced a huge price hike for Disney Plus and Hulu, and there's going to be like an ad-free bundle and all manner of nonsense stuff. It's interesting to see. In terms of selling it to Apple, who knows? It sounds like there's a pretty big potential that they may be doing it anyway, which I'm probably covering in another video. But let me know what you think of this down below. It's still funny. I guess this does reveal exactly why these films are going down the drain, because of CEO Bob Iger not actually doing what he's supposed to be doing. Leave your thoughts down below. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.